Dating should be an enjoyable activity that we look forward to, since the prospect of finding that special someone is something that most of us aspire to. But there are some dating horror stories that will make you think twice before meeting up with someone again, since people can be very unpredictable and in some cases downright dangerous. It is, however, impossible to correctly judge another person from just one date, and it's often the case that their true personalities and intentions are only revealed once the initial facade fades away. Number 5. Not all dating horror stories are the result of meeting someone new. In the case of an unnamed woman from Memphis, she had been dating her boyfriend, Jabari Albritton, for 5 months before he showed his true colors. On the 13th of August, 2021, Albritton met up with the woman to go to a local mall and have dinner. Afterwards, they decided to drive around for a while. But at one point, Albritton started doing donuts in the middle of the street, something that the woman saw as dangerous and did not enjoy. He was spotted by police when they ordered him to stop what he was doing and pull over. He decided to ignore their orders and flee instead. The couple drove as far as a gas station, and the woman decided to get out of the car in order to remove herself from the situation. But Albritton was now brandishing a weapon. He grabbed her by the back of her neck and forced her to get back in, after which he fired the weapon into the air. The victim told police that Albritton then drove to a Regions Bank at a shopping center in Mendenhall in Memphis and forced her to hand over her ATM card along with the PIN number. She intentionally gave him the wrong PIN, but when he figured out what she had done, he began assaulting her with the weapon and ripped a $2,500 ring off of her finger. He then fired into the car's floorboard and told her that if she didn't give him the correct PIN number, he would end her life. She complied and went back to the ATM. But while he was attempting to enter the PIN once more, she jumped out of the car and ran to a gas station at a nearby Q-Mart. She entered the bathroom and phoned for help, while Albritton fled the scene in his red Mustang. The woman was able to provide police with his description, as well as that of his car, and before long, he was tracked down. He was eventually taken into custody and charged with aggravated robbery and aggravated kidnapping. He's currently still awaiting his sentence. Number 4. On the 11th of May, 2021, an off-duty Clayton County Police deputy was on his way to work when he decided to stop at a QT store to pick up a few snacks. Moments after he entered the store, a woman ran inside, frantically screaming for help. He approached her and asked what was going on, and she told him that a man was inside her car and that he had a firearm, and he had been holding her against her will. The deputy, who was a member of the Sheriff's Hill Fugitive Squad, radioed for backup, and a Jonesboro police officer responded immediately. When the two officers approached the woman's vehicle, they spotted the man inside, but when he realized he was cornered, he reached for his weapon. The deputy and officer both drew their weapons and ordered the man out of the car, and he complied. After surrendering, the man was identified as Labarise Hayes. The woman would later tell police that she met Hayes at a club 2 weeks before the incident. They'd only gone out on one date, but the man had arrived unannounced at her house the previous night, stating that he was moving in with her. She refused and asked him to leave, after which he produced his weapon, refusing to leave her house, and he held her against her will until she was rescued by the deputy and the officer. Hayes was taken to the Clayton County Jail, where it was discovered that he had several types of illegal substances in his possession, which he was charged with, along with the weapon that he was carrying. He was also charged with kidnapping, assault, making terroristic threats, as well as possession of a firearm by a felon. Number 3. On the 30th of March, 2014, Trevor Woodside, a jockey from County Down in Northern Ireland, was supposed to meet up with a woman for their first date. But Woodside had been drinking and things took a very unexpected turn. The jockey decided to use his employer's Mercedes-Benz to go on the date, but since he had not asked permission to do so, he was driving a stolen car. At the same time, the woman was traveling from Newry when she started receiving a number of texts and calls from her date, asking where she was at that moment. She thought he sounded intoxicated and asked if he had been drinking, to which he replied that he hadn't. She reminded him that it was illegal to drive under the influence of alcohol and that he didn't have a license. At this point, she had reached a road outside of Downpatrick, traveling at 45 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour zone in a Volkswagen Golf. As she approached a junction near Downpatrick Racecourse, a black Mercedes-Benz appeared and headed straight for her car, having just crossed over to her side of the road. One witness described the black Mercedes as having passed them at speeds like a rocket and stated that the woman did her best to swerve out of the way, but the collision was unavoidable, and the jockey crashed head-on into her vehicle. The woman's Golf spun around on the road and eventually careened down an embankment, coming to a rest between a clump of trees. The impact of the incident was so great that her car's engine was left behind sitting on the road. Woodside's stolen vehicle also spun around and came to a rest on a grass verge. The woman lost consciousness but survived the ordeal after being freed from her car. She told police that she felt physically sick when she found out who the driver of the other car was. She would ultimately have a plate inserted into her foot, as well as skin grafts and other surgeries done due to the accident. Woodside remained conscious throughout the incident and only complained of a slight backache. He was arrested and cautioned while in hospital. When tests were done, he was found to have had more than twice the legal limit of alcohol in his system. At his trial, it was revealed that when the Mercedes was inspected, the speedometer had become stuck at between 75 and 80 miles per hour. Woodside was ordered to spend 21 months in custody and a further 21 months on license following his release. A judge at the Downpatrick Crown Court told him that it was an appalling piece of driving that had left his victim with significant and long-term damage, not only physically but also psychologically. Woodside was also charged with aggravated vehicle taking, driving with excess alcohol, and driving with no insurance, and he pleaded guilty to all of the charges. He received concurrent sentences of 18 months in prison and has been banned from driving for 6 years, after which he'll be required to take an advanced driver's course. Number 2. On the 11th of August 2020, Selena Rivera Apodaca, a 24-year-old woman from Kent, Washington, met with a man who she had matched with on a dating app. They arranged to meet up at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in downtown Boston, where they would be having their first date. They both arrived on time and met in the hotel lobby, after which they decided to go to her room and spend the next half an hour chatting and getting to know each other a bit better. But then things took a sudden turn for the worse. The woman reached into her luggage and produced a pink taser, which is advertised as being able to produce 3.5 million volts of electricity, enough to immobilize just about anyone. She placed the device under his armpit and told him to keep still while she rummaged through his pockets. She went on to steal $140 in cash before the man managed to break free, and he fled from the room. He went back down to the lobby and contacted hotel security staff, explaining what had just happened in the room, but clarified that he managed to get away before she was able to use the taser on him. Security staff then contacted Boston police, who made their way to the woman's room on the 14th floor, and they were surprised that she hadn't left. When they confronted her about the incident, she claimed that she'd never seen the man before in her life, much less spend any time with him. But when her room was searched, officers found her pink taser sitting on top of her luggage. She became uncooperative and decided to start a FaceTime call with another man while police were trying to question her. She was taken into custody and ultimately charged with armed robbery. Number 1. A dinner date between two former friends turned into a nightmare when 43-year-old Kimberly Johnson from Las Vegas decided that the date wasn't going as she expected. Johnson and an unnamed man who she had known for some time arranged to meet for dinner at a casino named Jerry's Nugget on the 11th of January, 2021. At first, everything seemed to be going well, but at some point, Johnson found out that the friend only had a total of $5 on him, and Johnson lost her temper, starting an argument in the casino. The two eventually left the establishment, but Johnson refused to take the man home and forced him to walk the 2.5 miles back to his apartment. It's believed that he was expected to return to the casino with more money, but about 20 minutes after he had arrived home, he started hearing splashing sounds coming from his apartment window and the front door, which he found strange. He went to investigate, and as soon as he opened the door, saw Johnson in the doorway, and in the following moment, she set fire to the gas that she had just poured around the front of his apartment. The front door and doormat instantly caught fire and were engulfed in flames. The man slammed the door shut and retreated back inside, but Johnson wasn't done, and she used a wooden-handled hammer to break the front window of the bottom-level apartment. The man claims that she then set fire to her own handbag and threw it through the broken window into the front room of his apartment. When the man was later interviewed by police, she stated that Johnson was under the influence of an illegal substance and that she was fully intent on burning his apartment down and ending his life, all because he was short on money and unable to pay for their dinner. Luckily, the fire only caused damage to the apartment, and neither Johnson nor the date were hurt during the incident. The North Las Vegas Fire Department determined that the fire was set with willful and malicious intent, and Johnson was arrested and held on $5,000 bond after she was charged with attempted murder by arson. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.